former Laval Rouge lineman, comes across on his second attempt here. Posts his numbers just now, 5.437, a little bit slower than his first attempt, 5.437, and we get through the offensive lineman here this morning at the University of Toronto under the bubble. I want to remind everybody, if you're in the Toronto area, come on out. U of T campus on Bloor Street. Come on out here and have a look at the 40s, at the cone drills, and also the one-on-ones. People love to watch those one-on-ones. I want to say welcome to everyone who's joining us as we are live streaming the 40s here at the 2016 CFL Combine, just underway. We are in progress, and the offensive linemen have been through. We had some technical difficulties here, and so we apologize for those. Wanted to lift off right at 8 o'clock when the big men started to lumber down the lane, but we weren't able to do that. But we're fine now, and we can report to you that Jamal Campbell, 4.984 is the mark that tops out at the offensive lineman, tops out for the offensive lineman, Justin, and we're about to see the defensive lineman. Of course, as the day goes on, we'll get to the more speedy players. The lineman first. And this is the way the routine goes. Run the 40, do the cone drills, the agility tests, the broad jump, and then do those one-on-ones by group. Offensive lineman, defensive lineman, obviously squaring off.
Yes, sir. Finally putting the pads on, doing some football drills after you get done with all the testing events done. Those drills probably matter most for the offensive and defensive linemen.
Well, we're waiting for the defensive lineman to come up to the starting block. So we've got a little time here, and we'll take a look at some of these times for the offensive lineman. Jamal Campbell at 4.984, Michael Couture at 5.243, Zach Inzant 5.3, Charles Vaillancourt 5.38, Jason Lauzon-Seguin 5.3, Roman Grossman at 5.45, Philippe Gagnon at 5.51, and Sean Jamieson at 5.543. These kinds of numbers for offensive linemen, nothing out of the ordinary there, I wouldn't assume.
Yeah, pretty solid overall. What's impressive is Jamal Campbell, under 5 seconds, 4.94. He's a big, athletic offensive lineman who's still a little bit raw, but has some of the physical tools that coaches like. They believe they can develop him, hopefully down the road into a starter in the CFL.
I'll just remind you how Philippe Gagnon did, because I think some people would be interested in just how fast this young man might be, because he impressed everybody yesterday. If you missed the live stream of the bench press, you can see it here on CFL.ca. You can watch it in its entirety. You can watch the little nuggets that have been edited off, parceled off, if you will, and Philippe Gagnon with 40 on the bench press. And again, his numbers here today, 5.513 is his top sprint. He did a little better in his second run. He came in at a 5.55 first and then sped up just a little bit. The left guard of the two-time Vanier Cup champion with Laval. As we've mentioned throughout the weekend, you have, I know certainly leading into this draft, it's a big draft year for Laval offensive linemen. All right, we're just about ready for our second set of big men, and that would be the defensive lineman. And Tariq Anderson from Delaware State University is standing just over the blocks and digging it a little bit. Native of Toronto, Ontario, and his numbers from yesterday, his bench press 17 reps, his vertical jump 27.5 inches. Cross the line, and I'll remind you, if you're just joining us, it takes a couple of seconds before, even though this is electronically timed, it'll take a couple of seconds for those numbers to come up, and Tariq Anderson's has just come up, and he clocks a 5.1 on his first attempt, 5.18 to be precise. Rupert Butcher, the defensive lineman for the Western Mustangs, and a native of London, Ontario, into the blocks now. Yesterday's numbers: bench press 24 reps, vertical jump 24 inches. And the numbers for his first attempt just about to pop up here. And Butcher comes in at 5.36 5.359 if you want to be precise. We'll round that up to 5.36 if you don't mind. And Michael Kashuk jumping up in the air at the, I was going to say line of scrimmage, at the starting line. He is really ready to go. His numbers from yesterday, a good vertical of 31 inches and his bench press reps of 25, and he is across the line. The native of Curtis, Ontario, and the graduate of the MAC program in Hamilton. .05 on his first attempt. 5.052 for Michael Kashuk. Quinn Horton from Winnipeg, Manitoba now, and Simon Fraser University. It's an early morning for him. It's an early morning for all of us. We lost an hour last night, of course, unless you're live streaming from Saskatchewan. I'd like to congratulate you on your common sense of not flipping clocks back and forth in the fall and the spring. It actually seems to make more sense, Justin, in the fall when we gain an hour of sleep. In the spring, not so much.
No, especially not today.
Quinn Horton. Bench press reps 14 yesterday and his vertical of 25.5 inches.
That's a big frame coming down the 40 down. 300-plus pounds, interior defensive lineman. Looked like a pretty good time.
5.49 is Quinn Horton's first attempt. 5.49. A man out of the Toronto Regional, Donnie Agerter. There were 3 combines, of course, the Montreal, the Edmonton, and the Toronto Regional as well. And we had a number, was it 16, 17, I believe, came through regionals and got invited to this main camp. And Agerter was one of them.
Of course, a good Guelph boy. Strong on the interior. Really good with his hands as well.
Very important, of course, to be good with those hands when you're in tight and trying to beat offensive linemen. Speed, once you get around them, especially explosive speed, is a good idea, too. By the way, Agerter yesterday, a 25.5-inch vertical and a bench press rep number of 25. That wasn't from yesterday, actually. They took his numbers from the regional, which is what they quite often do with something like that. They don't make them do it twice in a week. His numbers, Agerter, 5.467 on his first attempt. Now, Denzel Philip, we saw yesterday, we took note when he came in and got measured and weighed. This guy is really a specimen. He is cut. There doesn't seem to be an ounce of fat on him.
No, there doesn't seem to be. Some scouts think he might be best putting on some weight, moving inside of the defensive line.
Taking his time. So I'll take the time to tell you that he bench pressed 19 reps on Saturday and jumped 29.5 inches in his vertical testing. Native of Mississauga, Ontario, and out of Eastern New Mexico University, also played at Delta State University and the New Mexico Military Institute.
Well-traveled guy.
One of his good friends, apparently Natea Jay, who played at the University of Buffalo and was drafted by the Toronto Argonauts, spent a number of seasons with them, and then recently just signed in that frenzy of free agency, signed with the Edmonton Eskimos.
What a frenzy that was, Don. Crazy first few days.
That was a test for media guys like you, Justin. We're testing the players today, but
Testing
for you,
how fast you can text and tweet and with your fingers.
You did well, too, by the way. You passed the test. Flying colors.
I'll take it.
Denzel Philip. Nope, not feeling comfortable. And you have to be 100% comfortable. This is a big deal for you. You only have 4 or 5 seconds here. You've got to impress. You better be comfortable and ready.
Yeah, it's almost like Jim Furyk when he's stepping off his putts all the time. Make sure you're ready to hit it because you're only going to hit that putt once. You're only run that 40 here twice. Very important.
It's a good comparison. We'll do these 40s in chunks, by the way, folks. We'll take a break after the defensive linemen are done, and we'll come back when we'll give you running backs, linebackers, a little later on today, receivers and defensive backs in another group, as Philip is off and away flying through the finish line and running a good 10, 20 yards past, making sure he can get the best possible time he can.
Straight out the gate, you'll see a lot of guys maybe dip at the finish line, but now it seems like most trainers will tell you run all the way through. Pretend you're running 60 yards, not just 40, so you don't slow up at all. Looks like that's what Denzel Philip did there.
4.894 on his first attempt. A nice one for Denzel Philip. Number 96, Boyd Richardson, through the Edmonton Regional to be here this weekend. His hometown is Regina, Saskatchewan, and a UBC Thunderbird, and that means Vanier Cup champ. What a stirring run they had. What a fantastic run they had, knocking off the Calgary Dinosaurs along the way to a championship that not an awful lot of people predicted at the beginning of the season.
No, 2-6 in 2014. Blake Nill comes over from the University of Calgary and takes over, and you knew they would be better. You just never thought Vanier Cup sort of better.
Boyd Richardson's numbers 4.962. He is through, and John Bywald now came through the Toronto Regional, and a Mustang, a Western Mustang, a native of Ottawa, Ontario. His vertical yesterday, 30.5 inches. No numbers on the bench. He did not test on that, and we're waiting for B-Wald's numbers to pop up. Now we get him, 5.07. 5.071 for John B-Wald, who, again, we did not see it in the bench press yesterday, but good to see him out here today, taking part in the explosive drills and the one-on-ones. Now we got a linebacker running with a defensive lineman, and that's Daniel Chamala, number 44.
And that's likely because he's going to take some reps in the one-on-ones on the defensive line, Don. So smart here. He's going to get 2 position group workings in here on Sunday.
Native of Kinshasa, Congo, and a St. FX X-Man. Daniel Chamala is through. Vertical yesterday for him at 33.5 inches, and he bench pressed 22. He had a good Saturday.
He did. Showed he's athletic. Be nice for him to get a good time here.
And his first run through is 5.329, so basically a 5.33. And we'll get to the top of the list again for the big men, plus the one linebacker. Chamala will have another attempt at the end, but we go back to Tariq Anderson, whose first attempt was 5.18. Once in a while, we will see guys running the 40 and testing one-on-ones out of position a little bit, or sometimes you could take one-on-ones in 2 different places. If you're a running back, they can ask you to stick around and catch some passes at the end of the day, as they did with Anthony Coombs a couple of years ago. I want to make sure you get out there with the receivers as well and see what you can do.
Yeah, and Chris Aki last year as well. He came, ran with the linebackers, did all the linebacker drills, stayed, did all the defensive back drills as well, really showed off his versatility.
Tariq Anderson, 5.146 on his second attempt. 5.146, just a little bit faster than his first, so I'm sure he'll be pretty happy with that. Rupert Butcher, with his second attempt here at the 2016 CFL Combine. Day 2, presented by Adidas. Butcher, 5.349. Again, just slightly better than his first attempt. Coming up a little later on, as I mentioned, we'll segment off these sprints, and Dwayne Ford from TSN is going to be joining us as a guest commentator a little later on this morning. And Jim Barker of the Toronto Argonauts, the general manager, of course, who did a fantastic job of color commentary last year, gave us a lot of insight on these sprints, and he'll do it again a little later on as we watch Michael Kashik come through with his second attempt.
Dwayne Ford, of course, the dean of the draft. He's the guy that's really covered this the best over a number of years, tracks the guys coming out of high school. He'll have some good nuggets for you. And Jim Barker, as you said, Don, he was awesome last year.
Kashik's number is 5.033. Again, just a little bit better than his first attempt. We're seeing guys do just a little bit better in their second attempts here in the defensive lineman group. So Quinn Horton will try to do that. His first clocking a 5.49. See what he's got in his second attempt. Fancies himself a Doug Brown kind of player, and that's not surprising considering he was born and raised in Winnipeg, Manitoba, and watched Mr. Brown play a lot of football. And again, he's just slightly better in his second attempt. He had a 5.49, this time a 5.45. 5.454 is the official clocking. Niagara Falls native Donnie Egerter with his second attempt. You see him standing in the blocks. Metaphorically, we don't actually have blocks here, of course. You want to see how quick a guy can get off the line of scrimmage. He doesn't have them during a game, does he, Justin?
No, he doesn't. If there was blocks here, we'd see some faster times, too.
Egerter, a second-team OUA All-Star in 2015 with the University of Guelph Griffins. Good school? Good school, Justin?
Yeah, it's all right.
Didn't get a great start there, did he? See if he was able to overcome that and do better than his 5.467 on his first attempt. Still waiting for Egerter's numbers to pop up. 5.564. So, yeah, that start cost him just a little bit there. Denzel Philip now into the blocks. .894 is the number he's looking to best. He's at the top of the charts for the defensive lineman right now. His first attempt was the fastest for them so far this morning. There's Philippe with his second attempt. Try to get a little hint as to how they've done by looking at the expressions on the faces of all the coaches and player personnel people who are hand timing. 4.921, just off his first time, which was a good one at 4.894, but that one 4.921 for Denzel Philip. Boyd Richardson wastes no time. He exhales heavily as he hits the finish line, hoping to do better than his 4.962. He had a good Saturday. His vertical was 33.5 inches. That was a regional 33.5, I should say. So that wasn't yesterday, his vertical jump, but they brought it in from the regionals. But his good Saturday consisted of 27 reps, tied for second when it came to the bench press. And 4.895. Good Sunday for him, too. His second attempt is faster than his first.
Only the second defensive lineman under 5 seconds, Don. Thought we would see a little bit faster group here.
John Bewald is a guy, again, we did not see yesterday. In his first attempt this morning was 5.071. And again, it just takes a couple of seconds for the numbers to come up on the computer. And we await John Bewald's numbers on his second attempt. Daniel Chamala steps in. He may actually be off and running before we get those numbers. And yes, he is. Chamala, the linebacker, running with the lineman with his second attempt, trying to best a 5.329. We seem to be having some computer problems. We still don't have Bewald's numbers, and he's still up on the board. We don't have Daniel Chamala popping up as well, so I don't know if we're going to get these numbers in the next couple of seconds. We'll hang in for a few seconds, see if we can get these last two numbers for you as they break up and then go to some of the agility drills, the cone drills. Also, the broad jump, which used to be held on the Saturday, they've moved it to the Sunday, Justin. Decided, I guess, did a lot of players express the desire to do the broad jump out on something that's more like a football field?
Yeah, I think they're happy about it, that they can put cleats on and be on turf and jump there instead of being in running shoes on carpet. And we could touch on, too, Don, there's a few defensive linemen that are ranked highly in this class that aren't at the combine for various reasons, pro days, right around the combine. They would like to have been here. Number 2 ranked, David Onyemata, the defensive lineman from Manitoba. He has his pro day at the University of Manitoba on Monday, the first ever pro day in the history of the school. And we just saw the big guys run. Onyemata ran a 5.1040 last year at the 2015 East-West Bowl, just to give you an idea. Another defensive lineman, Mehdi Abdesmat, a defensive lineman out of Boston College. He's originally from Montreal, Quebec, was the only Canadian at the NFL Combine this year. He's a big fella, and he ripped off a 5.10 40-yard dash. And then another defensive lineman in the top 10 of the Scouting Bureau who's not here, Trent Corny, out of Brockville, Ontario, played his football in college at Virginia. He's a testing freak on 4.61. This guy could be a starter in the CFL at defensive end, but might get an NFL look before he's up here.
Well, what we'll do is we'll take a break, and again, sorry, we have some computer problems, so we didn't get Bewald and Chamala's second runs. The computer seems frozen right now, but I know that all the results are going to be posted, of course, on CFL.ca, and that's a place you need to be all day long and all weekend long to get all kinds of great information. We've got all of the results for you there. All kinds of great written material if you're looking for columns and in-depth analysis, and if you're looking for Justin Dunk and his analysis on camera with Brody Lawson, we've got that. And also, as I mentioned earlier, you can watch the entirety of the Bench Press live stream. That's on our site. Or you can watch it chunk by chunk if you want. You can pick and choose some of the different video features that we have at CFL.ca. Reworked website, we all know that, just after the Grey Cup last year, and it looks fantastic. Follow the CFL on Twitter as well. You're getting bite-sized morsels there. It's a great way to ingest all of this information to make some sense. There's a lot of information here and a lot of numbers, and it's a good way to get all of that the way that you want, and to zero in maybe on the players that you like best.
Yeah, and the players that your team might draft, and get an idea for who you might want them to draft too. Educate yourself.
All right, we're going to take a break from the bubble here, the University of Toronto Dome, where the offensive linemen and defensive linemen will continue their testing. And when we come back a little later on, it's the running backs and the linebackers who will test themselves in the 40. Dwayne Ford will join us at that time. 10 o'clock is the scheduled time for that start. 10 a.m. Eastern. And I will remind you that your clock might be different by an hour this morning. Most of them switch automatically, right? Our smartphones and that. But make sure you have your clock in the right position, because it was spring forward last night in most parts of the country. We'll be back at 10 a.m. Eastern with more of the 40 here at the 2016 CFL Combine presented by Adidas. For Justin Dunk, I'm Don Landry. So long for now.